we know the demographics are shifting, where at one point the critical mass of an industry and an electorate were either Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants, African American workers. Now, because of historic reasons, more and more Latino immigrants are comprising a critical mass in certain core industries and electorate, which means that that population is going to either be an asset or a liability to the standards that the Irish, the African Americans, the other immigrants built and died for. And it's incumbent upon us to make sure that that critical mass becomes an asset to workers, because God knows, and we all know, that corporations are actively seducing and drafting and electing Latino politicians to serve their agenda, and they get elected under the guise of Latino solidarity. So more and more people like Sergio and our next honoree are going to be instrumental in making sure that we evaluate Latino politicians, not for their color, but for their intent and their politics, which is going to be the defining gauge that we judge politicians on. Having said that, on the immigration issue, keep in mind that they're proposing 12-year of wait lag time before an immigrant becomes documented. I would submit for your consideration that if we allow that to happen, you can expect 12 years of indented servitude and difficult organizing campaigns, because an immigrant, if I have to wait 12 years to get my green card, I'm not going on strike. Forget about me getting into an organizing campaign, because even if I have to put up with a miserable wage and exploitation, if I have to do that for 12 years for my children to have the right to stay in this country, I'm going to do that. So if we allow that to happen for 12 years, it's going to obstruct the organizing and the collective bargaining when it involves immigrants. I just submit that for consideration of folks to keep in mind. We'll follow the program, and we're going to recognize another immigrant who's from Mexico, and her story is particularly fascinating, not only because she's an immigrant coming from Mexico, not only because she's got advanced degrees, not only because she's the head of a Teamster Local 601, not only because she's the head of the Cannery Council for the Teamsters, but because she had the courage to take action when action had to be taken. As we know, sometimes in unions, we don't get the right leadership, and the members are the ones that pay the price. And sometimes it requires drastic action to take steps to make sure that the membership gets the leadership that they deserve, and that the leadership is consistent with what labor has promised to its members. So our next honoree had the courage to do that, and successfully, with the support of Romolois and the other leaders of the Teamsters, has forged, I think, a path for others to follow. Not only women, but labor leaders in general. I would like to invite our friend Freddie to come up and help me introduce our next honoree. Fred is one of our executive board members. He's the former head of the Cannery Council, and we are blessed to have him also from Southern California.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for coming up.
Thank you, Johnny. Good evening, brothers and sisters. My brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to be here before you, but the most important thing for me to be here is to introduce to you a young lady who has had a meteoric rise in the labor movement. When we started the Cannery Council, or when it was started in the 1920s, 1925 to 1929, it was women who were the working force behind those few leaders that decided to put the Cannery Council together. And as the years went by, women dominated the canneries. When I came into the labor movement, into the Teamsters and the Cannery Council in 1951, we had a membership in the Cannery Council of 90,000 members in the state of California. When we started, we were not members of the Teamsters Union. We were chartered under the AFL-CIO. We ended up merging with the Teamsters in 1947. All those years that I served as a member of the Cannery Council, for the 45 years that I was there, I always said to myself, someday we will have a woman lead this organization. That day will come. Well, that day has arrived. This young lady today shows us what women can do in any part of labor, whether it's canneries, whether it's teamsters, whether it's laborers, whether it's UFCW, SEIU, wherever. Without women, you cannot do it. When you get women involved in any labor organization, you have got a working force that nobody can hold back. But at this time, without any further ado, I only want to say that this young lady, it just gives me a great honor, a great pleasure to be able to stand here before you and to have the pleasure of introducing the first woman Secretary Treasurer of Teamsters Union Local 601, Stockton, California. The first woman since 1929 to head up as Executive Officer, Secretary Treasurer of the Teamsters California State Cannery Council. And she's got some great, strong support with her. People like Adam Ochoa, Secretary Treasurer of Local 948 and President of the Cannery Council, Crescencio Diaz, Local 890, Teamster, Salinas, California, Larry Lund, who I've known from the day he started as a business agent many years ago. He's a strong supporter, and all the rest of the members of the executive board. So, and also supporting Maria has also been Bob Bunsell, has always been at her side, as I always have someone. I always have someone at my side from the Taylor, Bodine, and Beeson firm. We always have had. So at this time, with great pleasure and great honor and great pride, I would like to introduce to you the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Teamsters California State Cannery Council, Maria Ashlev Alvarado.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you so much. Good evening, brothers and sisters. As you heard, my name is Maria Ashlev Alvarado. I was born in Mexico. I'm an immigrant, and I am the daughter of a bracero. I am honored to be here today before you. And I am humble and grateful to the Instituto Laboral de la Raza for having bestowed upon me such a distinction. As I was saying before, I am the daughter of a bracero. My father was 16 years old when he came to this country, contracted in the bracero program. He had heard of the land of promise, and he wanted to see it for himself. He had heard of the ability to find jobs and make dollars and help his family. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. He found himself working 16 hours a day with no breaks, no lunch, and at the end of the day, they were fed beans, rice, and eggs, and for the most part, they were spoiled. At night, hundreds of men retrieved 2 shacks, and they shared 2 bathrooms and 4 showers. The second time that my father came, because he was persistent and stubborn like I am, he decided that he could no longer take it. He called an uncle in San Jose, California, and he left against the warnings of his co-workers that he would be arrested and that he would remain in the United States prisons forever. My father decided that the hell that he was in was worse than anything else. And because of his courage, my father passed forward, found a job with a Japanese worker who sponsored him to get his green card. Eventually, he met my mother, fell in love and married her. He brought her to this country, and then I came along. But I was not born here, brothers and sisters. My father didn't have insurance and couldn't afford the hospital. So he took my mother back to Mexico 2 weeks before I was born. I was born in Mexico, and I'm a proud Mexican. But I'm also proud But I am also proud of my heritage. I am also proud of everything that I am, because I look at myself and I look a lot of my brothers and sisters here. Years later, because Rome told me to keep it short, years later, when I was 14 years old, after seeing my parents work in the fields, long hours, no overtime, no medical insurance, no benefits, my parents became Teamsters. My mother worked seasonally in a cannery that I am happy to represent today. My father worked as a supervisor of the sanitation and eventually a mechanic, and our lives changed almost immediately. Now I could go to the doctor and see the dentist. Now my father had weekends off. And 2 years after that, after my father obtaining a job at this company, he was able to buy his first house. And my sister and I were very happy because we had our own room for the first time. And we have a heater, we had air conditioning, and we had a phone. This story is much too familiar to a lot of you, because of the stories told by my father and because of what I have personally seen growing up, seeing my father work long hours and receiving no respect as a worker, is that I developed a fire in my heart for the labor movement. This led me to get a job with the United Farm Workers as an organizer. And I was angry because I found out that the people that I was trying to organize was still being treated like my father many years before. At 15 years old, almost 16, I fell in love and married. I became a young mother, and my daughter is somewhere here. She kind of grew up with me, and I grew up with her. Then, later on, I had a son, and short after, I divorced. Because my heart is the heart of a Latina warrior, and I don't take. You know what I mean? I was going to say it. God knows I know how to say those words. So I divorced, and I decided that I needed an education. I went back to school. I went to Modesto Junior College, and to be honest, I was concerned. I didn't speak English. So I worked really hard. I carried my dictionary with me, and almost every other word in my textbook, I had to look in my dictionary. I had to look it up to know what it meant. But I was determined, and I was persistent, and I graduated with an associate's degree, transferring to California State University Stanislaus, where I earned my degree, my bachelor's degree in political science, and eventually my degree in public administration. I became a business agent for the Teamsters, and then president. And in 2010, I won an election as principal officer. Through my job, I have the privilege to be able to commit to the working class, documented or undocumented. They're the hardworking men and women out there that are putting food on our tables, and I'm fully committed to them, and I feel very especially strong for the undocumented workers because they're the most vulnerable. Recently, as you know, Governor Brown signed historic laws to protect immigrant workers. Last year in October, and these laws became effective January 1st. This is a step forward, brothers and sisters, and I think this is the time when we need to press and we need to push for a comprehensive immigration reform. It's time. We need it, and we need it now. Just recently, some workers from Taylor Farms came to Local 601 asking for their support so they could form their union. I am impressed to the courage that they have shown. The companies have waged a relentless war against them to try to break their spirit, threaten them that they're going to call immigration, that they're going to lose their jobs, that they're not workers, that they're less than human. But these workers continue to plow forward against all odds. Can these workers stand up because they're here with us today or tonight? Brothers and sisters, as you know, we often read articles that talk or imply that the unions are dying. Not too long ago, I read an article in the Modesto Bee that said the unions were weak. I tell you today that that is not true. The union is strong. There was people before that fought for the rights and for the rights of workers, and there will be people after us. So long that there is injustice in the workplace, so long that there is abuse, so long that there is discriminations, that unions will thrive. Looking around this room, I see people of all colors, gender, and backgrounds. But brothers and sisters, we are here today as a community of leaders that are ready to take on the fight for the working class and to preserve the middle class. You, like me, are here today because we breathe and we live every day the labor movement. We believe in equality, we believe in justice, and we share the same values and the same goals. This is why we're here, brothers and sisters. This is what we do, and I am proud to say that this is what we do. We have fought anti-labor, anti-worker, anti-union legislation many times. Not too long ago, Prop 32. And we will continue to fight against them. And we will continue to work towards legislation that will protect the workers, and will continue to work towards a comprehensive immigration reform because we need it, and we need it now. Today, whether you're an activist, an advocate, a labor lawyer, or a union leader, we're all here together for the same goals. I am a product of my father's dream. I am a product of the Teamsters in this great country, the United States of America. And I am willing to work very hard for the Taylor Farm workers so that they, as well as their children, can have their dreams come true and can reach the American dream, because sí se puede. There is so many people that I want to thank, but I'd like to begin once again to thank the Instituto Laboral de la Raza, Jaime Gonzalez, Freddy Sanchez. I'd like to especially thank the president of our Joint Council 7, Roma Lois. He's my mentor. He's a true leader, and I respect him highly. I'd like to thank my team, my clerical, my business agents, very especially my executive board, my shop stewards, for their enthusiasm and hard work, and for their respect for the job that we do every day. I'd like to thank my children for their patience and their unconditional support, because I'm gone a lot. And I want to thank my husband, Brian Short, for his respect for me as a professional, as an individual, and as a career woman, and as a labor leader. Thank you. Lastly but not least, I want to thank the excellent IBT organizing team and the Taylor Farm workers for their courage, for their hard work, and for their determination. And I want to ask all of you to help me send the message strong that the unions are well alive and thriving, that we're not going to back down, that we're going to continue until we win this fight. Thank you so much. Thank you, Teamsters, and God bless America.